Picture it, Los Angeles, 2024.
Oh, welcome. I sound smoky today, and we'll explain why. Welcome to Out on the Lanai, the only Golden Girls podcast you're ever going to need to listen to. Oh, I'm HAlanScott / Sadie Pines.
I'm Kerri Doherty. I'm getting better. I'm also sounding a little bit like Kathleen Turner, though. Today, we're doing another Golden Rewind, where we go back and rewatch our favorite episodes of the Golden Girls and offer new insights since we first started breaking down these episodes way back in 2014. And dear listener, we want you to prepare to have an awkward conversation with an estranged sibling while you babysit a stranger's baby, because we just rewatched season 1, episode 4, Transplant.
Oh, what a time warp that is. You know, it's always interesting to go back and watch the first season episodes because they do distinctly feel almost like a different series, even though it's the same. Obviously, it very much is the same series because of the camera quality, because of even Michael today was what we were watching it and he was noticing the camera angle of one conversation at the beginning over Rose's shoulder onto Blanche. And it was just sort of like, it was even the style. You could feel they were figuring out the tone. And we're seeing them sort of play with it as we go along. And so it's always kind of jarring to watch one of these early seasons, especially in episode 4, season 1 episode.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm with you. You do notice some of the set design is a little different, like the decor in the kitchen's a little different. And they were really experimenting with these camera angles and blocking placements that were a little jarring that I think they kind of, gave up on eventually. I also realized, I was like, oh, if I had seen every Golden Girls episode for this, except for this one, and you said, hey, there's an episode in season 1 called Transplant. What do you think it's about? I 100% would have thought that it was an episode about Stan getting a hair transplant.
Oh, really? Oh, that's so interesting.
I'm just saying, if this was the only episode of the Golden Girls I'd never seen.
And you'd seen every one.
And I'd seen every other one.
Oh, well,
I would assume that this was what that was about.
Yeah.
Personally.
No, I mean, I wouldn't, my mind would not necessarily go to it being like a liver transplant. You know what I mean? Like my mind would go to being like, maybe they're transplants at a new place, or maybe they're, you know what I mean? Like I would think maybe an immigration story, maybe like, I don't know, like my mind would go there. It wouldn't immediately go to a medical thing.
Yeah. I totally agree.
This is 2 weeks in a row where we're doing medical related episodes of the Golden Girls. Also 2 weeks in a row where you and I both have been sick, which is why I can now successfully do my sick voice. Hi, everybody.
Now do this. Step into frame and go, where's my heating pad?
Don't make me laugh. I cough when I laugh.
I do want to address last week's breathgate.
Oh.
Because here's the thing.
Wait, we need to start with the tech issues that we've been receiving. Well, you've been receiving and I've been on the receiving end of for a little bit.
Yeah, you've been very patient with me. I appreciate you. I've gone through different microphones. I've talked to the tech people at Riverside. I've really gotten to know them well. I've had such crazy tech issues. You should see my setup right now. I've got like my box of tissues. I've got my computer. It's like tilted at an angle. And I've got your iPad, my microphone. There's so much going on, but I do have to address what happened last week. I feel so bad. My poor friend, Zach Wickham, comes on the podcast, expects to have a great experience. It sounds like he did.
Bad. It wasn't that bad. I mean, you're embarrassed by because it's your voice.
Well, not only that, but that would bother me as a listener. If I was just trying to listen to a podcast and all I could hear is, so I do want to tell people why it happened. It was an unfortunate combination of three different things.
3 different things, really, yeah.
One,
4 probably.
One is that I thought I had allergies. I just had a full-blown head cold, but I could not breathe out of my nose. So that was the first thing. So I was mouth breathing. 2, we were having a weird echo issue where you could hear an echo and you were like, you got to turn your volume down. So I couldn't hear myself in my headphones.
Yeah.
If I had heard myself in my headphones, I would have heard my breaths and I would have not done it anymore. I would have controlled it because I would have heard it.
We talked about
The
this on
third
the rest.
unfortunate thing we did talk about on the Rest Anchor Happy Hour.
Well, well, you have to say the text I sent you during it. Speaking of the breaths, so like on the Rusty.
Okay, but
okay, go
last
ahead.
and then the breath, because I really just want people to understand that like I never would have let this fly.
Yeah.
The third unfortunate combination is that I bumped the gain up on my microphone, which means the microphone kind of opens up and it captures more audio around me and my space.
Yeah.
So where I can take a breath back here and you can't hear it, I bumped my gain up accidentally in my sick haze.
The fourth problem in the cuckoo house is that we also recorded very late on a Tuesday night, which is not normal for us. We don't usually do that. And we had to turn it around real quick. It was like I schedule it at 1 a.m. If you're all awake at 1 a.m. Eastern time, you can listen to the new episodes every single Wednesday. Because I schedule everything for 1 a.m. Eastern time so that our lovely East Coast listeners can wake up in the morning and, get this type. Wait, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you breathe now, Kerri.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I heard you. Listeners, did you hear the breathing?
I didn't hear me breathing. Wait, Jesus Christ.
It's fine. We'll figure it out. But
I'm not stuffy anymore.
Interesting. But so we scheduled for 1 a.m. So it was also a quick turnaround. So it was very much a rushed moment that we had going on. But we're here now and we're doing it. And everything is fixed. I'm going to double check on the whole breathing thing that I may have just heard, but everything is fixed. And
I think it was a phantom breath.
It might have been. It might have been a triggered breath. Like maybe now you're so conscious of it that you exhale without realizing it. Like your body is like just releasing
waiting to
air.
Exhale.
Shoop shoop.
Shoop shoop. Anyway, I'm so embarrassed by it because I was also I'm embarrassed by it. It must have been so insufferable for anybody who sat through the entire episode. I couldn't have done it. And I know that there are listeners. Some people have been like, I'm so sorry. I love you guys. I couldn't do it. So I just want to apologize to the people that didn't get to enjoy that episode the way it was meant to be enjoyed. And honestly, if you're still hearing my breaths, then I'm saying this is your iPad because this only happened when I used your iPad.
Man, you can blame it on the iPad that I loaned to you to fix the problem.
No, I'm so happy that you loaned me this iPad.
Now I'm coughing. Now I'm the problem. People don't stop listening because we have health issues. Please.
I know.
This is why we're doing medical related episodes. Last week was not necessarily because we were sick, but this week it is because we have been sick.
And I think we already did the flu episode because that would have been perfect, but we just did that one.
Yeah. It is going around, though. It kicked me in the booty. Literally, like, we were supposed to record, I won't say with who, but with a very special person within the GG fandom, the VIP fandom, and I couldn't do it. I physically could not do it. Like, I was rushing to finish everything, throughout my day, and then so that I could, because I knew I was getting sick, I was like, I have to do all my on-camera things while I can do them, because I have a lot of other on-camera things I have to do. And so I was rushing to finish all of that. And then by the time the nighttime came around, I was like, I got no more face in me. I got no more nothing in me. I am dead. I sound horrible. I had a splitting headache. And I was down for like a couple of days. Michael's still kind of sick.
Man, and Michael was sick before you were sick.
Yeah. I know. It's been 1 week since was normal.
2 days ago, I sounded like absolute ass. Like it was bad.
It wasn't because of a microphone or like any of that. It was like just you and life.
It was
sounding
just
like
me
ass.
and life, exactly.
Yes.
Me and life sounding like ass.
But this was fun. I was very excited to come back and record. I was very excited to watch this episode today because it was like, okay, every time I get sick, let me just say this. Every time I get sick, I think, am I going to feel like this forever? is this because like you reach a certain age where when something goes wrong, there is a distinct possibility it could stay that way. You
That's
know
how
what I
I
mean?
feel about my knee, which is
Well,
feeling better. But I
yes,
was like, oh, I'm just getting old. But
yes. And
mhm.
so even when I just have like a normal illness, I'm like, what if this runny nose is just forever? And I'm gonna have to be putting lotion on like skin, like my nose is like peeling because of I've been rubbing it so much with tissue and stuff.
Yeah,
But it's not forever. Tell me
it's
it's
not
not forever.
forever. It's not
Thank
forever.
you.
Before
But
we dive into this episode, before we dive into this episode, also Rusty Anchor Happy Hour for all you GG VIPs, you're getting, of course, another bonus episode this week. We're doing another Rusty Anchor Happy Hour unhinged, where we're
because
just
I'm
gonna,
sick.
yeah, and because we just didn't have it in us. But I did find when I was younger, I wrote birthday cards to a
Oh
celebrity and
boy.
I
Oh
received two postcards
boy.
in the mail
Oh
from
my
this particular
God.
celebrity.
It
So I'm going to
oh
share those postcards on the Rusty Anchor Happy Hour. And I
it
have
better
some
be Kim
other,
Basinger. It better be Kim Basinger.
when I say who it is, there's going to, I'm going to dare you to connect that person to Kim Basinger in any sort of
I'll be able to do it.
okay, you Kevin Bacon that. And I also, for those who were listening a few weeks ago when I talked about my really embarrassing prom outfit that I wore in
Oh
11th
yeah.
grade, I found
Yeah.
those photos.
Wow.
So that's
Wow.
what you're getting in the Rusty
I
Anchor
just
Happy Hour.
recently I have so we also another speaking of our ages, we are of an era of people who like so many of our high school moments, like all of them really were not digital for the most part. And so like I
Not at
recently
all.
yeah, I mean, well, no, I mean, they were a little bit like you could upload the photos, of course. Like,
To what?
scanner, you could
Oh,
scan them on a scanner and like upload them. Like we were able to do
upload them
that
to what though?
to your computer.
Oh, yeah. You could have
Yeah.
them on your computer. Got it.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But then also there were digital cameras when we were in high school. It's just that they were very expensive and most of us did not have them. There weren't cell phone cameras by any means.
No.
Um, but so we don't have what my point is we don't have a lot of digital photos. And I recently ran into the problem because I interviewed Nikki Glazer, who I went to high school with, and for her comedy special, which everyone should go watch. It's called Someday You'll Die. It's on HBO. But speaking of dying, but yeah, and so I interviewed her and I was trying to look for photos of us, and they're all like I mean, on other people's phones and shit, but like in St. Louis, like an actual physical copies of things. And it just depressed me so goddamn much.
I don't know. Maybe.
I'm so used to being able to access it, you know?
Yeah. There I maybe it's because I have so many photos from high school because I left them at my parents' house and nobody threw them out, thank goodness. But so I feel it's fun to have them because I can like flip through them and there's something
Yeah,
nice about having something tactile.
I need to like physically get some photos and bring them back here, but well, someday. Okay.
Yeah, someday.
Someday. That'll be a fun Rusty Anchor happy hour. Yay.
Well, should we take a little break and dive right into this episode? I have so many things I want to talk to you about, including what I'm going to start us off with, which is a deep dive into Virginia, aka Sheree North, into her career, which
I'm very
I
excited.
learned some really cool things.
I'm very excited. Let's get to it.
And we are back talking about the Golden Girls transplant. Earlier when we were talking about how we really like these early episodes, I realized all these stories, they're very character driven. You don't need a lot of plot, which is nice. They're very simple stories. And that's what happens when you have characters with great dynamics, with different points of view. And there are long scenes, but they don't feel long because I'm just so fascinated at what I'm watching. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, one of the things that I think about these early episodes is that they do kind of like we talk about that sort of I sort of see it like early 80s versus late 80s. You know what I mean? Where the early 80s sort of was still in that the story writing of the set 1970s in that like you didn't need a joke every second. The attention spans weren't as short. There wasn't sort of that obsessive need to do bada boom, bada boom, bada boom, bada boom that we see in the later episodes. That Elliot, our very dear friend Elliot Glazer, often talks about how he enjoys the later seasons more, and he says because of the direction of the show and like how it was and just how it was. But I think a lot of it also has to do with the scripts and how they were very fast paced. The action came, you got it, and it was formulaic in a lot of ways. Whereas these very much played into the Norman Lear of it all, in that which, I mean, Susan Harris, there's that connection there, that there is this sort of, a scene is able to be felt out. Conversations are able to be had. Not every second needs a joke. It felt like that.
When Blanche was rehashing all of her issues with Virginia growing up, I timed it. She spoke for a full minute.
Yeah.
Just telling a story. It was a big monologue, and I loved it. I was like, I'm going to watch this 3 times. This is so incredible.
There was even a joke between Blanche and Rose that was so interesting, in that Rose had a typical, even though we aren't in full naive Rose moment yet, but she had a moment where, I forget the actual setup, but the setup was something with a dog or an animal or something, and Rose was like, oh, well, what'd you do with it, or something. And it was a normal, where in season 5 Blanche would be like, took it to the pound, what do you think, Rose? That would be her response. But instead, season 1 Blanche went on with her story, just was like, okay, moving on. It was, they didn't need to get that button there.
Yeah, they were definitely kind of still fleshing the characters out. I feel like when you watch a lot of these early episodes in season 1, Sophia, a lot of her function is to sort of sling these one-liner insults, like she's the host of a Comedy Central roast. And it's great. It's so wonderful, but it is also fun to see how the characters became more 3-dimensional, more fleshed out, and sort of, became known for doing certain things as the series went on. So to get into Sheree North, who plays Virginia.
First off, she's gorgeous.
She's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. So she was a studio actor back in the day. Did you know that she was supposed to be the next Marilyn Monroe?
No.
Back in the 50s?
Where's the proof of that, though? That's what I want to know. Who said that?
Well, Wikipedia.
Okay.
So, but here's the thing. So to get into a little mini deep dive of her career, so she was living in Los Angeles in the early 50s. She was spotted by a choreographer while dancing at a club, and she was cast as a chorus girl in the 1953 Bob Hope film, Here Come the Girls.
Oh.
So that was kind of her break into the business. She ended up on Broadway in more TV and movies. In 1954, she signed a 4-year contract with 20th Century Fox. Back in the day, this is what actors would do. They would sign contracts with the studio, and they would star in just those studios' films.
That is very true, but it was becoming less and less of a thing in the 1950s and especially into the 1960s. And famously, I think Kim Cattrall calls herself the last... Oh, no, not Kim Cattrall. Yeah, no, Kim Cattrall calls herself the last studio person, because she was on contract with whoever produced the Mannequin films, whatever company did, she was on contract with them to produce. And I think Police Academy and all of them were all with the same company. And she was the last studio person. But after oh God, Gone with the Wind, I'm forgetting her name now, but she's an incredible actress. But she fought the studio system, and she was like, no, you can't keep us onto these contracts that won't let us get out of them. And sometimes studios would not cast actors in the films for years just to intentionally ruin their careers, just to make sure that they couldn't work for 4 years. And so in the 50s, it was dying out more and more.
Well, I mean, I don't, blame actors for trying to get out of it. And I'm glad that it went away, because just sort of what I was reading, it really does sound like it was the studios versus the actors in the most disgusting ways. But so the studio was grooming Sheree North to be kind of a replacement for Marilyn Monroe, because they were saying at that point that Marilyn was, quote, difficult, uncontrollable, which again, she probably just wanted to be treated like a human being.
Well, she was. Sorry. I mean, but she was also very famously known for she had a lot of problems. But she also I mean, every single thing I've ever watched on her is always like, she was like sometimes like hours late to set, like hours late to set. And it got to the point where she was dealing with other things at that point. But she was also massive and they didn't protect her at all. They did not protect her at all.
Yeah, the studios don't treat actors well.
Yeah.
And they were using Sheree to get under Marilyn's skin. So they would test Sheree for movie roles that had been offered to Marilyn. Basically, like, hey, if you don't want this, we have a younger version of you and she's going to take it. And
That's
in
kind of evil.
I know, but this is what they do. This
I
is
also
what
want
they
to
do.
go back and say the actress from Gone with the Wind that fought the studio system and won was Olivia de Havilland.
Ah, yes.
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 That was eating at me. I had to get that name out because I know people listening were like, it's Olivia de Havilland because it's Olivia de Havilland. Of course, everyone knows who she
I know,
is.
everybody was screaming it.
Yes.
So in 1955, Sheree took a role opposite Betty Grable in How to Be Very, Very Popular. It was a movie that Marilyn Monroe refused to do. And around that time, Marilyn was suspended from her contract with the studio. I'm guessing because, I don't know, maybe she kept turning down roles, anyway, they suspended her. Or maybe they suspended her because she was being, quote, what they deemed difficult.
Yeah.
So then when Marilyn was suspended, the studio arranged for Sheree to appear on the cover of Life magazine looking just like Marilyn Monroe with the headline, Sheree North takes over for Marilyn Monroe. For those watching on video right now, either on Patreon or on YouTube,
Yeah.
I'm going to show you this photo. Damned if this isn't Marilyn Monroe.
Put it up. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. That's wild.
It looks just like her. So she was on the cover of Life magazine. And then Sheree ended up doing a bunch of movies for Fox. They actually did like pretty well at the box office, but apparently they didn't do well enough for Fox. And so what did the studio say? Were they like, okay, Sheree, you know what? Maybe you're actually not Marilyn, and that's okay. Like, you're Sheree, and we're going to figure out your talents, and we're going to nurture and support you. No, they didn't do that at all. You know what they did? They instead offered her the lead in a movie called The Girl Upstairs, which was a parody of Marilyn Monroe's on-screen persona. They wanted her to lean even more into Marilyn Monroe.
That's actually just offensive.
And she said no.
Good.
And then she was put on a 2-month suspension, and they were like, you're out, Jane Mansfield. You're going to be the new Sheree North. So they brought in Jane Mansfield. They were like done dealing with these difficult women.
Yeah.
And so anyway, and she kept working, but she, her contract expired. She did continue to work, but I can't imagine. I wish if she were still with us, I would have tried to get her on the podcast to
yeah. But
see.
Also, I mean, Jane
I can't
Mansfield,
imagine she was treated great. I mean,
none of those
Jane
women were
Mansfield.
treated like those three women. I mean, I can't speak for Sheree, but like Marilyn and Jane famously were mistreated and had not great endings. I mean, at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so she at least we have this episode of the Golden Girls with her, and she was on a bunch of other stuff too. I mean, she definitely came back and did what I love about women of that era, that sort of the old Hollywood 1950s era, because the girls, when I say the girls, I mean our girls, the four girls, they, for the most part, with the exception of Betty, were largely out of a lot of that. Their careers started in different ways that didn't have to involve the studio system in that kind of way. They didn't necessarily feel the pressures of that sort of Hollywood machine in their early careers because they all kind of did their own things. Betty was the only one that really had that access to Hollywood because she was in Los Angeles and she was here doing the things on early radio and TV and like being in Hollywood, whereas all of the others were essentially all in New York. And so it's interesting to sometimes see on the show these actresses who have these connections to like old Hollywood and to think of the things that they had to go through in order just to be an actor, to be a working actor. I mean, it really puts a lot of the stuff that working actors have to go through today to shame because like they had no freedom back then.
Oh, I mean, working actors today still get shit on in so many ways.
They still get shit on, but they have health care. Not always great, but they do have a union that gives them health care. And that wasn't always the case necessarily for a lot of those actors back in the 40s and 50s. So like we've been able to grow the power of unions so that at least these struggling actors who still are getting shit on can go to the dentist, which is all anyone really ever wants, gotta have that pretty smile.
Or to get a kidney transplant.
Connections, bringing it back.
Connections, bringing it back to the episode. I did immediately think of you at the beginning of this episode because Blanche was cleaning so much. And I know she wasn't vacuuming.
No, she was not.
I was like, you seem like someone, though, that you enjoy. Like, do you enjoy doing a deep clean when you have like family coming to visit?
Well, I don't often, you know me, I intentionally live in spaces that people can't come and stay with me. So, people don't ever come to visit me and stay with me because they know that's not my thing. They stay in hotels and I will pay for that. I will gladly chip in and help in that situation, but I will not help out in the staying on my couch situation. And that's just the person that I am. I mean, when we started this podcast, we started it in my studio apartment, and I chose that even though I could afford a 1-bedroom because I didn't want people coming from New York staying with me.
I love that about you.
So now when people are coming over, like if someone coming over, at night or whatever, like to have a moment, I'll do a thing of, I always make sure the kitchen is put together. I cannot stand having dirty dishes in the sink when guests come over. That drives me insane. And I will put on a candle and I'll make sure the couch is like presentable for people. Everything else, welcome to my life. This is the tour. This is the museum of HAlanScott and Michael Brambilla. You are in it. And this is what you've come to experience. That's sort of how I treat it.
I love it. And it's exactly what, I mean, it's been a minute since we've recorded at your place, but yeah, you would always have a candle lit and the table would always have water and some snacks and your sink was always immaculate.
That's what it should be.
Yes. When Sophia came into the living room at the beginning of this episode, spraying like Lysol or air freshener, at first I was like, oh, that's nice. She's helping Blanche clean. But then based on the look in her face, I was like, oh, I think she's actually coming out of the bathroom.
Yeah. Don't make me laugh.
I was well, what am I supposed to do? All right. Well,
I'm sorry. Go on.
Okay. So another thing I noticed about early on in this episode, when Dorothy enters through the door with that baby,
I mean, okay.
I don't know if are we gonna say the same thing?
Please go on.
Well, Dorothy did this and then later Rose did this. These women, they give these women, these actors, probably a baby doll that weighs half a pound. So when they're walking into spaces with it, they were just flinging the door open, running inside, whipping around. And I was like, I don't feel like they needed to give them a sack of potatoes with like eggs around it. Like I wanted to feel like they were actually holding a baby because. Oh,
see, I wasn't having that reaction at all. I was fine. I mean, because I don't notice those things because I'm not a parent, so I don't see those kind of things. But I did notice that like no one seemed surprised that she had a baby.
Who are Ted and Lucy?
I mean, I don't, sure, introduce the new characters that don't belong on screen, whatever. But like, I would be like, where'd you find a baby? You know what I mean? Like, I'd be like, why are you bringing a baby in here? Like, I would genuinely.
Look who I've got. A butchie.
No, I just watched that episode of Sex and the City where Samantha sleeps with the guy who has to, every time he gets to his place, he speaks in baby voices. It's
no.
Like, oh, you like it.
No.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Don't do that.
Not for me.
Don't do
not
that.
for me.
Not for anyone.
No knock on it. Not for
no.
No, I mean, it could be some people's thing.
No,
I'm not
if it's your thing,
I'm just saying not for
judging
me.
you. I'm judging
I'm
you.
not judging you, but it's not for me.
But
hey,
it's gross.
What if Ted and Lucy, could you imagine if it was Ted, Stan's brother, Ted, and Lucy, Blanche's niece, Lucy, with the ovary genes? What if that was their baby?
That would be crazy and would foreshadow the exposed ovaries, I guess, because we haven't seen Blanche's niece yet in this episode.
No,
right?
We haven't met
Not in this
Ted.
episode,
we haven't met
but
Lucy.
but the ovaries, so maybe, I don't know. I've never been attracted to an ovary, but maybe some men are attracted to visible ovaries.
Another thing Sorry, I'm thinking about this baby
Yeah.
because when Dorothy comes in, did you notice they only gave her one diaper bag?
Yeah.
And do you know
Yeah.
how long they had that baby?
A couple of days, right?
No.
No, how long?
Later in the episode, so they drop the baby off before Virginia even gets to town.
Yeah.
Later, when Virginia says to Blanche, you know, if you want to give me your kidney, I'll see you in Atlanta in 2 weeks. By the time baby Danny leaves, Blanche is gone to Atlanta, which means they had that baby for at least 2 weeks.
I was about to say, can you imagine living with a baby for 2 weeks? Then I'm like, oh, wait, you're a parent.
Yeah. But what an ask. And also one diaper bag. I mean, it sounds like Ted was in a skiing accident. They didn't realize. But it's just wild that nobody commented on the fact that, like, wow, can you believe we thought maybe we were going to have this baby for a day and we've had him for 2 weeks?
That's so long.
That's a really long time to have a baby with one diaper bag.
Diaper. I can't say it like B. Arthur. Diaper.
Maestro.
Maestro, bring me a diaper.
Marguerite, go get Maestro to bring me a diaper. Put it on the program. Is that all of them?
And have a lovely day.
No, it's thanks for the lovely prayer. You had one job.
I can't.
One job.
Shut up.
Well, here, while you're composing yourself, why don't we, so Blanche is not happy that baby Danny, a bougie, is staying with them. So let's play a quick moment of Blanche hating this baby.
Now we cannot have a baby in this house. My sister's coming.
Does she eat them?
I have cleaned this house from top to bottom. I have killed myself for 2 days now. Babies make a mess.
In diapers. And unless we use them as placemats, your sister will never know.
Diapers. In diapers.
There you go. You just needed to hear it to repeat it.
Diapers. But everyone who is a longtime listener of this podcast knows that needing to hear it to repeat it will not implant it into my brain. I will completely forget what we've talked about. What we've talked about.
I will forget what we're talking about.
In the next 30 minutes. So
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. So, you know, Blanche, I understand why Blanche is cleaning her house. I understand why she's stressed about her sister.
Do you hate any of your siblings?
No.
I was thinking about this. Now I don't hate any of my siblings at all. I find
no, but
all...
you and I did recently, because of your memory, you and I did recently talk about on the podcast how we both have sort of the middle child syndrome.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, I know I'm definitely the favorite and the more talented one, but I also
that's classic middle child syndrome talking right there.
But
the hubris.
Also, you know. I live here and they live there. But I know that I also have a very adult relationship with my siblings. It's not like disrespectful, but it's also, they aren't necessarily the people I like immediately turn to for like life advice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I have a different relationship with my siblings. I do turn to them for life advice and vice versa, especially like with my brother and myself. But, and my sister's just, I mean, she's that sort of classic older sibling where she never complains about anything. She's, she's just like such a trooper and is the coolest. So, you know,
a super trooper.
A super trooper, you could say. Yeah. Saw that movie in theaters. Yeah.
Super trooper. I mean, I can't afford it.
We can't afford it. We have taught little Oreo how to sing Jeepers Creepers.
Oh, fun.
She likes to fill in the G, and then Stan also taught her how to sing Putting on the Ritz. So he does the whole thing. If you don't know where to go, you can do it. One is a fashion sense. And then she goes, Putting on the Ritz.
Oh, I love
really
that.
Cute.
Record that for me.
I have it. I'll send it to you. I will send it to you. Okay. So Blanche is maniacally cleaning and she's talking to Rose about why she doesn't like Virginia. It's poetic.
Yeah.
What, you know, I do want to play a moment of this because I love the story about how Virginia, you know, she once electrocuted me. I want to play that moment. It's just Rue McClanahan at her finest.
Yeah.
Oh, she got me in trouble all the time. Daddy used to call me the bad seed. Once she even electrocuted me. Oh, yes. It was the day before Christmas, and we were playing, and she jiggled the tree, and the star fell off and broke. So she told me to pick it up and put it on my finger, and I did. Then she plugged it in. And wham, my eyes bugged out, my hair shot straight up. I did a crazy rubber dance all over the room. Well, I'm sure my heart even stopped beating for a minute. Then she ran to Daddy and told him that I had broken the star and almost electrocuted her. And he sent me to my room for all of Christmas Eve and told me that baby Jesus was mad at me for ruining his birthday.
I love there's a whole trope of people who I've even when I was not Jewish, I did not understand Christmas. So let me just preface this by saying that. But I love the people who are like, it's baby Jesus's birthday. And like they treat it like it's a birthday party, which no shade, no judgment, but it's weird.
I don't think I've ever encountered that kind of Christmas celebration.
It's a thing.
Oh, wait, I take it back. One time I remember my mom started going to this like non-denominational church. And at the end, they would like sing Christmas songs and tell stories and stuff. And I remember at the end, I was very surprised when they started to sing Happy Birthday. And I was like,
no,
huh?
They did not.
And they did Happy Birthday, dear Jesus. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm here.
I mean, sure.
I just wasn't sure. I thought I was like looking around, like I was like, oh, is it like the pastor's birthday or something? They're gonna like wheel out a cake that's gonna be a surprise. Yeah, I just thought that it was like a tradition that I didn't know about.
Well, we ponder that, and also we've set up this amazing moment for Blanche's sister to arrive. We need to take a break, and before we really get into this drama between Blanche and her sister, so should we take a break?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So when Virginia does arrive, I mean, she's genuinely complimenting Branch. She's Branch.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's like, you know, you've got a lovely lunch, lovely house, lovely
She seems
friends.
lovely.
Yeah, she does seem lovely. But, you know, because Blanche has spent years dealing with Virginia treating her badly, she has her guard up. And, like, I get it. Because I would be like, what's your end game here?
But
like, what do you want?
Watching it from the outside, sure, yes. If someone legitimately had treated me badly and then were all of a sudden treating me nicely, I would be like, what's your game? But from an outsider watching it, I would definitely also have that. It's sort of like when, was it Rose's sister comes to town?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when they can't see that she's doing all kinds of shady things and she just seems like a nice person. My instinct would be what the girls did with Rose's sister, that I would be like, she's fine. What's your problem? Clearly this is all in your head and you are, projecting here. But no, Blanche is knowing that something is up.
Yeah, I feel like with Virginia's way about it was very interesting, because you're right, it does leave the audience to go, well, hang on, is Blanche just kind of making all this up? But you feel like, just from like, if this were real life, I feel like Virginia's approach wouldn't it be to kind of like try to make amends with Blanche first, instead of just plow right through with like, oh, all this lovely stuff, you know what I mean? Like,
well,
why
maybe,
not just
but also
apologize for all the stuff you did and try to make amends that way, so that it feels genuine?
She probably doesn't see it as bad things. She probably just sees it as sisters being sisters. Like, so.
Well, she did when Blanche talks about how she stole her boyfriend and married him.
Well, sure, that was a big thing, I guess. But she probably doesn't see it the same way that Blanche does. So she probably doesn't see the need to apologize for a lot of those things. Also, she just found out she's dying. I'm dying, Blanche. Like, if you find out you're dying, I'd say you got bigger things to worry about than the niceties of how you tell someone you're dying. You know what I mean? Like, or the proper ways of doing it. Just sort of do it in the way you know how to do it. That's only you know.
That's a good point. Well, I mean, Blanche does admit to the women. She's like, yeah, Virginia's being really kind, but she knows that there are strings attached. Blanche knows her sister wants something. And then when we get to the restaurant scene, did you notice that there were flowers everywhere in that restaurant?
Yeah, it was a very floral, fragrant restaurant.
Arrangements on the table, but then they also had like buckets of flowers piled all around the host stand. Like it looked, I felt like I was at a flower mart. I was like, what happened here?
You know what? I can buy myself flowers. We can't afford it.
I like it when you do that. That's a funny bit you've got going. I like that. Can't afford it. Can't afford it.
It's bringing back my I've used it recently. My Wendy Williams. It's me slipping in Wendy Williams
sick. We allow
moments.
it.
Yes, things into the podcast.
Yes. In the scene with Virginia and Blanche, I do feel like, and this is maybe I think where you're right in that, you know, Virginia doesn't recognize what she did to Blanche because she didn't acknowledge Blanche's feelings when Blanche was like, you stole my boyfriend and you married him. And it felt like Virginia was deflecting. Like, she's like, well, you only went on 2 dates. And Blanche is like, I move very fast. But just from Blanche saying, like, this is how much this man meant to me. Also,
I mean, it's weird. I'm sorry. Blanche had a lovely marriage to George and very happy. Clearly, he set Blanche up to be very financially taken care of in her later years, you know, after his death. I mean, with a home and everything. Like, so, like, you know, Blanche didn't, like, have a bad life because she missed out on that dude, you know? Like, it was 2 dates.
I know.
I'm sorry. I'm with Virginia.
I don't know. I mean,
I'm with Virginia.
To your point, and again, I think this is because Blanche's guard is up, but Blanche also struggles to acknowledge Virginia's feelings when Virginia's like, well, you know, if it makes you feel any better, like Tom, she's like, Tom cheated on me all the time. Yeah. And Blanche is like, serves you right. You know, what goes around comes around. So I guess maybe that was a product of their upbringing.
That gets us up to the clip. The next clip is that.
Yeah, the reason that she's in town. Oh,
things happen to bad people, and she's like, I must have been really bad.
Yeah.
Which is, okay. Yeah, I'll just play it.
Just play it. It makes me sad.
Well, then I must have been really bad. What do you mean? Well, it's the reason I'm here. I knew it. I knew you had a reason. Better be a good one. I'm dying. What? I'm dying. Well, my God. That explains it then. What? Why are you looking so much older than I am?
Good ending.
The slow push-in on Blanche as she's processing what she just heard, it feels like, I mean, it feels like theater acting, but it's so subtle. It feels like these women who had theater backgrounds were really able to translate that for TV, where the camera's so much closer to your face. You have to emote much more subtly when you're acting for TV than theater. And I just thought, like, Rue McClanahan in this episode, God, she did such a great job with it. I'm like, they should have given her an Emmy from this episode, honestly.
I know, but it was, I mean, that's the problem with, like, with you know, the Emmys and, like, having 3 leads of a show is that, like, they're just going to cancel each other out. And they did in a lot of ways. I mean, they all won, but still, they all should win.
Do you know what episode was submitted for Rue McClanahan when she won her Emmy?
I don't, but it's interesting because the type of submissions that would have been back then probably would have been an episode like this, or the one where she dates the art guy, the body he lifts art, the younger guy. That one probably would have been one because I can submit two. So yeah, it probably would have been like the more serious ones that target sort of like them dealing with issues, because that back then was sort of like how you won.
Yeah. This would have been the one to submit. So back at home, Blanche tells the rest of the women Virginia's dying. I was right. She wants something.
Yeah.
And it's her kidney. Act break.
Act break.
I do love the joke when Rose is like, why does she need a kidney? And Dorothy goes, to feed the cat, Rose.
Yes, exactly. And see, now that's when that Rose moment from earlier when Blanche didn't pick up on it. Thank God Dorothy did.
And that moment, we didn't put it in Dorothy's Barnack's shoutiest moments when we did that collection on this podcast, but that is a real shouty moment. That's definitely shouty. Deserves. It's a very, very shouty moment.
Yeah.
And, you know, Blanche is so torn about what to do in this situation. And I totally get it because, you know, on the one hand, you could argue that her sister's trying to make amends because she needs something from Blanche.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you could be like, well, you know what? Maybe she's dying and she doesn't want to have regrets and she really does want to mend that relationship. It's like, I can really understand why if Blanche had a great relationship with her, it would just be like, oh, yep, super easy. Yeah, of course I'll do it. You know? It's
so interesting. Back when we first recorded this episode, I don't know. I mean, I was obviously much younger, which is crazy because I'm only 28, but I was much younger back then. And I feel like I probably had a flippant response to whether I would or wouldn't do it. I don't know. I don't remember what my response was. But now that I'm older and, you know, had life happen and things happen and relationships happen and bonds happen and all these things, oh my God, I would not even think about it. There wouldn't even be a thought in my head. I am one of those people who are like, I mean, this isn't to tout myself or anything, but I'm definitely one of those people that it's like, whatever it takes, I don't care. I'll be up all night. I'll go there. We're good. You need this. Let's do this. Like, for the core people, not for losers, but for like the core people. You know what I mean? Like, you do the things you need to do because karma will help you out in the other ways that it does in the future. So like, just do the things, and it's just called being a good person. So yeah, I wouldn't even think. I would not even think. I would probably be like, am I too fat for it? But like, that would be the only thing I would say, you know?
That's so sweet. I'm so curious to know. Yeah, 10 years ago when we did this episode, what did we say?
I don't even know.
Oh,
I have
man.
No idea.
Maybe.
No idea. I don't want to listen though. I oddly don't want to listen.
Yeah. I mean, the audio quality is terrible. I was going to say, if we were posting this in like a week, I would take the time to go through it, but this is going up very soon. So you'll just have to go back and listen to that episode and the poor audio quality. But you're used to getting poor audio quality these days because of my breathing. You do you, listener. But I'm with you. I wouldn't.
Well, you're a parent now, so like, of course you wouldn't. You know what I mean? Like, you do the things you have to do.
Yeah. If it were one of my siblings asking me, I would 100% do it. Obviously, what's interesting too is when the other women talk about whether or not they would do it, they don't talk about whether they would give their kidney to a sibling. They talk about it in the context of if they would give their kidney to a child, which is like, I mean, their child, not Danny, the baby who lives with them for 2 weeks. But
yeah,
they're like, yeah, if it was my kid, no question. Yeah. I just thought it was really interesting. I was like, but this is a sibling. This isn't a child. This is a different situation.
Yeah.
But, yeah, at least Virginia says to Blanche, like, she gives her an out. She's like, look, you can say no. I'll understand. I honestly don't know what I would do in this situation.
Oh, I know exactly what I would do. I know exactly what I would do.
This is what Virginia says to Blanche.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
If I was Virginia, I know exactly what I would do.
What would you do if you were Virginia?
I would say, listen, I understand this is a big decision. And I know that it's like hard. And trust me, no judgment if you decide that you can't do this. I just want you to know that if you decide not to, I will haunt you.
That would probably really sway the decision because, like, you don't want that, right?
Boo!
You don't want that.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine if you, Kerri, said no to me if I needed a kidney and you were like, I just don't think I can do it. And I'd be like, it's okay, Kerri, it's okay. I'll just haunt you.
I would feel very uncomfortable.
Yeah. As you should.
Yeah. I'm so worried. I didn't tell them before they died because I didn't know they were going to die. But like when a friend of mine who like died in high school, like I remember, like, I don't know if I was by myself somewhere and it was like kind of dark and I was like, hey, and I like said his name. I was like, hey man, if you ever want to come visit me, I was like, just like do it outside in the brightness of day, like at the beach or something. I was like, if you ever, or visit me in my dreams, but I was like, please don't ever visit me when it's dark and I'm by myself, where it's scary, where I'm gonna look over and you're gonna be in the corner of the room and then you're not gonna be there. So I'm like, I don't know if you can hear me right now or if you're like light or if you're the earth. Like, I don't know, but I was like, if there's any of that and if that's a thing that is real or exists, I said, just please don't be a ghost that does a goof on me, because that feels like something that he would have done.
I'd
because
be a fun
like
ghost.
I'm like 41 now, but he's like still 17. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To this day, I still don't want him to scare me.
I'd be a fun ghost.
How would you ghost?
Well, I'd probably like, make you do weird things. You know what I mean? Like shave something weirdly. Or like,
wait, what?
I don't know. I don't know
do
what
you
I would
mean
do.
Make you do weird things?
Yeah, like, you'd be shaving or whatever, and like maybe looking in the mirror, like shaving your legs, or I don't know what it would be, or maybe trying to give yourself a nice little like shave down there, and then I would like somehow appear in the mirror, and then you'd be like, and then you'd give yourself a weird like shape down there.
I like that you think that I would shave down there, like standing in the bathroom in front of a mirror.
Just looking in the mirror. How's it look?
Like Dorothy naked giving herself a pedicure. I mean, you're a homosexual, so I'm just going to like let it go and go, well, okay. I shouldn't expect you to fully understand.
Oh, God. We got to move on.
I know. I'm trying. Okay. So, when Virginia left the house and she's like, Blanche, whatever happens, and then she hugs her and Blanche is taken aback. Blanche literally gasps and she goes, I'll always love you. And she kisses her on the cheek. I teared up at that moment.
It's good. It made me think of one of my favorite movies, Terms of Endearment, which I've mentioned many times.
I thought you were going to say Terminator 2.
I do like that movie, too. I don't know why.
It's a good movie.
Like the movie, too. But when Deborah Winger pulls away and then she doesn't let go, like her mom doesn't let go, and she's like, you let go first or whatever. Oh, that's nice. Whatever.
I still haven't seen it, but I'll take your word for it.
Well,
and then ultimately at the end of the day, Blanche is like, of course I'm going to do it, not just for Virginia, but for myself, so that the two of us can get to know each other and become close.
Mm-hmm.
And then she leaves and then she comes back and it turns out she doesn't even have to give her a kidney because they found the perfect donor, which was a retired Mormon school teacher.
Cleanest kidney around.
I was going to say, do you want to speak to why this would be the cleanest kidney as a former Mormon?
I mean, she's right. They only had Ovaltine. It was the spiciest thing she probably ever had in her body. Like they just
and no drinking, right?
Yeah, there's no drinking, no smoking, no like nothing. Like it's all like the worst thing that they eat is probably Jell-O.
Creme brulee can never be Jell-O.
Yeah, Mormons
Jimmy,
love.
You're never going to be Jell-O.
But Mormons love Jell-O.
I like Jell-O.
But Mormons love Jell-O.
I don't love Jell-O. I like Jell-O.
No, they love Jell-O.
I wouldn't marry Jell-O. I would never want to be haunted by Jell-O.
Can you imagine you make Jell-O and then all of a sudden, like it's like in that scene in Jurassic Park, but like it is that scene in Jurassic Park.
Yeah, it is that scene.
Where she's like has the thing and then it just starts shaking just out of nowhere, but nothing else is shaking. That's how I would haunt you.
Oh God, okay. Please don't die before me. I do love when Blanche
Chances are
says,
likely. Chances are likely.
I don't know, honestly.
Chances are likely.
Honestly,
Mm.
I love it when Blanche says, sometimes you almost have to lose somebody before you realize how much they really mean to you, which I thought was a really sweet sentiment.
Which is true. Also, it makes me think of on You're Making It Worse this week, the other podcast that I do, we have two filmmakers on who are talking about this nun, Sister Una, who it's a documentary film they did. I'm blanking on the name of it now, but Sister Una, you can Google it. And she finds out she has 9 months to live, and she decides to be this like crazy fun nun who smokes and drinks and like sings karaoke and does crazy things with her nun friends and just lives life to the fullest because she found out she's terminal. And it's that to me is like the most joyous thing ever. It's like, well, if you have no other choice, well then go live, have the most fun. I know what I would smoke, because one of my favorite pastimes was smoking, so I would immediately go back to smoking immediately. And that would be one of the first things I do. Yeah, I would do that. And I would eat a lot.
I would rack up so much. I would just rack up so much credit card debt, like
Well,
going to
no.
Italy and eating in really nice restaurants.
I mean, you can't pull a last holiday thing, because that's going to then leave the debt to your family.
So what?
Credit card debt follows you in death. You know?
I declare bankruptcy.
Have you seen The Last Holiday? It is one of our favorite movies. Not just Christmas movies.
No.
One of our favorite movies is Queen Latifah. And she finds out that she has some terminal illness, which she doesn't. And she spends all this crazy money to go live it up. And it's a really good, bad movie. You have to watch it.
And then at what point does she realize she's not dying?
In the end, when the man, like, well, you have to watch it. I don't want to give it away.
Because what would be funny is if she learned like 15 minutes into the movie and the whole movie is about her now trying to pay off her debts.
No, it's not that. That's not a fun movie. It should be a part of the Criterion collection, because you cry at it. Let's take a break. We got to end this shit.
Yeah, let's come back with our golden takeaways.
And we are back with our golden takeaways, which is a nugget of truth or inspiration that you can apply to your life or the lives of our listeners. If you're watching, I'm pointing to you right now. Kerri, what is your golden takeaway from this episode?
My golden takeaway is that it is never too late to change and work towards being a better person.
Oh, that is...
And it may take a lot of looking inward and having to face a lot of uncomfortable feelings, but it is truly never too late if you really, really want to try.
That is lovely. That is lovely. I have always believed in the power of redemption and what is it called when a prisoner comes out and they like, you know, they get paroled or whatever, like I forget what it is, but I believe in that. I believe that there is like, people can be better. I mean, not like, you know, not like Charles Manson, but like people can be better. You know what I mean? And Charles Manson almost had a mom. So like, people are complicated. This went dark.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds to me like you're like flirting with the idea of calling Charles Manson a good person.
No, I'm not. I'm coughing. No, this is why I like true crime, because I often am like, what happened to this person? Like, when did that snap? Because I fundamentally believe that everyone is born a good person, and it's the world that happens to them, and life happens, and circumstances happen to them.
Yeah, hurt people who don't get help hurt people.
And so, you know, we all have the ability. And also too, there's this thing in Judaism, I think it's around Yom Kippur. Yeah, it's around the New Year, where you can, if you to make amends for the year, you have to go to the people that you've wronged and like apologize and attempt to apologize 3 times. And if they don't accept your apology, you did what you could. You're not a bad person. Move on. Like, you have to move on. And I kind of love that. It's sort of like, you can't always get amends for the bad things that you do, but you can always apologize for the bad things you do. And that's the most important part. So I apologize for the tangents of this episode. Please forgive me. You have to forgive me. You have to forgive me. My golden takeaway.
Or else you'll haunt them.
With Jello. My golden takeaway from this episode is I don't think ghosts like me. I don't think.
Go on.
I've always my friend Roz does this great podcast about ghosts, and
yes.
she's so good at
Roz
it.
has been on the podcast before.
Yes, and I love ghosts, but I could never do her podcast because I don't think ghosts come to me. Like ghosts see me and they're like, "Oh, she's cool. I'm not gonna haunt her because he's like whatever, cool or something. He's not gonna be scared of us." Like I went to this dude's house in Hollywood, right near where Sharon Tate, going back to Charles Manson, Sharon Tate, the murder's house, and he was convinced that the ghost of Sharon Tate was in the house. And I went over, and it's on, you can Google him. It's like filmed and everything. And this dude, Sharon Tate wasn't coming to me. Like no one was coming to me. Ghosts don't come to me. Ghosts don't come because they're just like, he's not going to be surprised by me. She's not going to love it. So I wish I was more scared of ghosts so that ghosts would actually come and try to scare me.
I think you just put a challenge. A call just went out, like in the John Wick movies, to all the ghosts who are like, huh? Challenge accepted. So prepare to be haunted pretty hard.
That's cool. I could lose some more weight.
Does screaming help you lose weight?
I mean, since being sick, I've lost a couple pounds more. So I don't even need Ozempic now. I just need to stay sick and haunted.
Sick and Haunted. That'll be the title of your memoir. Wow. Well, what a delightful golden takeaway. Everyone, this has been another episode of Out on the Lanai. And if you want to join the GGVIP Club, you can do that over at patreon.com/Golden Girls Podcast. And we will see you back here next week for more Golden Girls greatness.
And we promise we will be back to normal real
I hope
soon.
So. I hope so.
Soon. Guys, we're a part of Mom, Moguls of Media. So go subscribe to Mom Plus and support all things Mom because they do fantastic things and we love being a part of this wonderful community. And you can follow us on social media at Golden Girls Pod on Twitter, Out on the Lanai Official on Boogram, Golden Girls Pod on Face. Oh. And I am HAlanScott / Sadie Pines on all the ghoul-tastic social platforms.
You're just practicing, aren't you?
Uh-huh. Boo!
Yep. I am Squidzy on Instagram and Squid Eat Squid on Twitter. And if you also want to do something nice for the podcast, you can leave us a rating and review wherever you get this podcast.
I'm blowing you air kisses. Yes, and remember, as always...
Stay golden. Took my line.
Sorry. It's been a night.
Get better. Don't get haunted. Out on the Lanai is not endorsed by Whit Thomas Harris Productions, Touchstone Television, Disney, or any of its subsidiaries. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only.
All names, pictures, audio, and video clips of the Golden Girls are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective trademark and/or copyright holders.